Hello and welcome. So, today we will start our series of trending stories. Every week, we will check some of the stories that are trending around the internet. And today, there's this trending story on the CNN website. Richard McKinney. So, what is his story? A Marine who hated Muslims went to a mosque to plant a bomb. His intended victims ended up saving his life. A Marine. A Marine is a soldier who works in the Navy. So they have this special name. We call them Marine. It's like soldiers in the army, marine in the navy forces. Navy, it means they operate usually in the sea or the bases in other countries or American embassies. Who hated Muslims? Hate, of course, the opposite of love, went to a mosque. And this is, we pronounce it mosque, not mosque. Mosque is wrong. The letter Q and U, they always come together, but don't pronounce it. Like, for example, quit. We say quit. We don't say quit. So, a mosque to plant a bomb. Plant here, it means to leave a bomb in the mosque to destroy it and kill the people there. His intended victims. A victim is usually the opposite of the murderer or the robber. So he is the person who receives the crime. So let's say that there's a murderer and he kills a person. So the person he kills is a victim. His intended victims. So he didn't actually do it, but it was his intention. He was working on this. He was planning on this. So intended victims. Intended here, it's an adjectives. It's an adjective. What do you intend? Intend is the verb, and intention is the noun. Ended up saving his life. Ended up. This is a phrasal verb. It means this is how the story actually ended. End up. Saving his life. So he wanted to kill them, but actually they saved his life. As soon as some members of the Islamic Center of Munsi saw the man coming towards them, they knew he was trouble. When somebody is trouble, you know that he comes and he wants to fight you or he wants to harm you. So when somebody is trouble, usually we stay away from them. We don't want to get closer to them. He was a big guy with broad shoulders, marching toward their mosque with his head down and his face flushed red from what looked like anger. He was a big guy with broad shoulders, so his shoulders were very big, and you know how the Marine usually walks, marching towards them. Marching here. So he was moving like a soldier. He was marching. His face flushed red, and his face was all red from anger. It was Friday at Munsi Islamic Center in Munsi, Indiana, and the mosque was filling with people who had come for afternoon prayers. As an outsider with a USMC tattoo on his right forearm and a skull tattoo on his left hand, he stood out. Usually these tattoos, they are given to soldiers in the Marine. He stood out. So he looked different from the other people. He stood out like this man doesn't belong in here. What is he doing here in the mosque on Friday afternoon? His name was Richard McKinney, and he was there not to worship, but to destroy. Worship, it is what people do when they go to a temple. So, for example, people go to the mosque. Why do they go there? To worship Allah. And when you love somebody very, very much, like extreme love, we say he worships her. And this is usually extreme, so it's not good. He was a former US Marine who had developed a hatred toward Islam during combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. He Former US Marine. Former, it means like ex. So he was a Marine in the past, but not anymore. He had developed a hatred. So it is something that came to him. It started happening to him, developed. So it wasn't something that he was born with or he had when he was young. During combat fight, his fury deepened. Fury, extreme anger. The famous adjective is furious from the Fast and Furious. We all know the famous movies. Deepened from deep. Deep, the opposite of shallow. Like, for example, in the deep sea. So you go down under for a long time. So deep, the opposite of shallow. Deep is the verb or the adjective. The noun, depth. Depth. When he returned home to Munsi to see how Muslims had settled into what he called his city and even sent their children to sit next to his daughter at her elementary school. Usually, when we talk about school, we have the elementary school. It is you start going there when you are 6. Before the elementary school, we have the nursery school. So, nursery, elementary, and then middle school, and after that, high school. Unable to contain his anger. Contain, when you want to keep something inside or you want to control his anger, he went to the Islamic Center that day in 2009 on what he saw as his final mission. So he is still in the army and he thinks that he has a final mission, that after that his job is done. He was going to plant a bomb at the mosque in hopes of killing or wounding hundreds of Muslims. He was on a scouting mission. Wound somebody, like injure him. If I don't kill him, I will injure him. A scouting mission. Usually, before you go on a mission, you want to know what is there. What do you expect to see there? So usually they sent 1 or 2 soldiers and they scout the area so they can describe it, they can know what's there. To pick a location, to hide his bomb, and to gather intelligence. Intelligence here means information, data, that would validate his assumptions. Validate, when something is valid, so it's true, it's not false. His assumptions. When you have an assumption about somebody, assumption is the noun, the verb is assume. So it's a thought. What do you think? Is this real or not real? So you assume something about a person. So he wants to really know what's he assuming or what does he think? Is it real or not real? That Islam was a murderous ideology. Murderous from murder, from killing, that Islam orders the Muslims to kill other people from other religions and countries. Okay, so you can read the article in full in the link below, or you can watch the video about this guy's story. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you tomorrow.